Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Good to see you guys. Let me know that you're here. Say hello if you're watching, even if you're watching the replay. It's always good to know who's here, who I'm talking to, and let me know your questions as I start to talk, because today we're talking about a really, really important issue in the world of mental health and really how to see the good in your mental health journey, which is so much the opposite of what we normally are taught to think about when we think about mental health problems. We often think about, um, how we're broken or how we're wrong or how something's not right in us. We need to fix ourselves. But there's rarely a discussion. In fact, I Googled today about how, the good things that come from anxiety, the good things that come from depression, and I couldn't find any. And I think it's that dark cloud that hovers this mental health world that keeps us locked in just this trap of feeling bad about ourselves because of mental health issues, right? And so I really want to talk today about the gifts that come, or the gifts that at least came to my life from anxiety and depression. But before I do that, I wanted to remind you guys that Freedom from Anxiety, my online group course, is officially open. The doors opened, I think, 2 weeks ago, and the program has been amazing. It's an ongoing program, so you can sign up whenever you want. There's live calls where I coach people actively through issues that they're struggling with around anxiety in particular, and the tools that I teach. But the course really shows you how to combine mindfulness and nutrition and yoga and all other real natural modalities into one lifestyle system that can help you cure anxiety and live free. So with that being said, go check out Freedom from Anxiety. I'll put it in the comments below. You can also find it on my website. An amazing course. But let's get started in talking about mental health and the good things that can come from dealing with anxiety and depression. So I'm really going to talk about my own story here, and hopefully it will give you some clarity or inspiration in terms of how this can be relevant for you too. And so the first gift that came from my 15-year battle with anxiety and depression. And for anyone who doesn't know me, by the way, or who's watching my lives for the first time, I had a 15-year battle with anxiety and depression. It started when I was 14 years old. I spent 10 years on medication, all different kinds of medication, going to many, many different kinds of therapists, and ended up hospitalized in my freshman year of college because of not wanting to live anymore. And so I really understand the darkness that can take over the mind, and without feeling like you have any hope or sense of control. I really lived that for a very long time, and I didn't really get to start healing until I turned towards more natural ways that were not just about numbing an anxious or a sad feeling in the moment, but really, really revamping my mind and my body and my spirit. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this stuff with you guys, because again, so much out there in the world is just about telling you to take a drug in order to fix something that's broken about you. And I actually see the world of mental health and the journey of anxiety and depression as something that's much, much deeper, much more beautiful, much more powerful than just this broken part of you. So the first gift that came from my journey with anxiety is love. And so when I say love, here's what I mean. My theory is that life is made just hard enough so that we have to rely on other people. And so, whether you struggle with anxiety, or whether you have another mental health condition, or whether you have a physical ailment or disease, or you had a difficult family growing up, we all have our stuff, right? And sometimes it starts earlier in life, sometimes it starts later in life, but we all have our stuff. And so I believe that, people are always saying, why would a God or any God create a world in which people can be such monsters, or there's so much suffering, or there's so much pain? And it's a good question. And my answer to that is because life, when it's difficult, it's made just difficult enough that we have to rely on other people. And if we have to rely on other people, what that forces us to do is go through the journey of love. And so specifically, I think about my journey with anxiety, and there would be people in my life who were so intolerant of when I would get locked in fear. I remember, one of the boyfriends I had when I was in high school and I was really struggling. We were about to head out to a New Year's party, and I couldn't go. All of a sudden, I got incredibly anxious, and I was like vomiting, and my whole body was shaking. And he was pretty intolerant. He was, we got to go to this party, just get over it, just have another drink, just move past it. He was really intolerant. As you can imagine, that's not the kind of love I wanted in my life, sustainably and long term. And so being able to turn to that and say, hey, you're just making me feel more anxious. You don't make me feel better. You don't bring healing in my life. You don't help me, get past this, and in fact, you make me feel guilty, bad, and just add on to the levels of anxiety I'm already feeling. So, with all due respect, peace. This is not going to help me heal. And slowly but surely, I learned to rely on people and turn towards people who were compassionate and genuine and understanding and sympathetic and wanted to help. And really, it was such a beautiful experience because I finally got to turn to people. I cut out all the people from my life who didn't want to love me in my worst state, and brought only people in my life who were really interested in taking care of me and loving me and respecting me in my most vulnerable times. And, those people, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be a burden to others, or I don't want to, hurt other people. And all I have to say to that is, how does it make you feel when you get to help someone? How does it make you feel? It makes you feel amazing, right? Like you feel like you're doing good in the world. You feel like you're making use of your gifts. It makes you feel amazing to help people. So in your vulnerable times, why would you not offer that gift to somebody else? Of course you should, right? And so that's the biggest gift. One of the biggest gifts that came from anxiety and depression was learning to only turn to people and really create relationships with people that were real, that were authentic, and that were truly based on love and understanding, rather than wanting the other person to fit in a picture of what we should look like or how we should be, right? And again and again and again, that's how I made my friends. And so all of my relationships now, my family, my friends, my community, my marriage, they are all based on this fundamental principle in a mutual way of, I love you no matter what. I love you unconditionally. I'm fully here for you. And I don't have to pretend to be in a certain mood or be able to feel a certain way or like a certain thing or whatever in order to be in those relationships, in order to see those people. And there's a realness in that is so powerful and calming in and of itself. And so love, a commitment to deep, loving relationships, came out of my journey with anxiety and depression. And again, look how lucky I am. I meet people all the time who don't, have all these people with expectations of them, who treat them like crap, who don't treat them well, who don't honor them, who don't let them be imperfect, who, just make them feel bad about things they're already feeling bad about. I'm sure you have people in your life like that. And I want to invite you away from those people, and that's what I did. My mental health did not allow me to have those kinds of people in my life ever. And so it was a real gift that I was blessed with this experience so early on in my life. It created the most beautiful relationships. So that's the first thing. The second gift that has come from anxiety, my long journey with anxiety and depression, is authenticity. So this is along the same lines in many ways as love, but what I found as I was learning how to heal my anxiety, right, I would go and try, this therapeutic technique, and I would go and try this oil, and I would go and try this meditation technique, and I would go to this new place, and I would go and work on certain, energies in my body in a certain way. And every single time I did that, I found out more about who I was and what worked for me. And so I feel like it was like sharpening the tool that is me, right? Like sharpening the pencil that is me. Every time I was like rough and scraggy, as I started to go through this mental health stuff, and every time I went and I figured out something that made me feel better, something that served me, and then simultaneously the things that didn't serve me or didn't make me feel better or whatever, I felt more aligned and aware of who I was, what I needed, what I was called to, what I was drawn to. And again, I just authentically honored that, right? I didn't listen. I stopped listening after quite a long time of listening too much, but I stopped listening to, this is how you should feel, this is how you should heal, this is who you should be, this is how it should look like, right? Which is why I have a coaching practice, which everyone tells me is the most unique coaching practice they've ever encountered, because it's mine. It's something that authentically speaks to me based on the tools I know work, that I've sharpened around me. And so I am so much in my skin, so authentic to who I am. I know the people, places, things, feelings, everything that bring me joy, that uplift me, that give me access to my highest self. And I align with that consistently, which means I get to really live in my authentic skin. And that is a beautiful journey. I would not have gone on with the same level of commitment had I not been trying to heal something very difficult inside of me. So it was a really, really, really beautiful experience to learn who I was. And again, I'm only 31 years old, and I coach people in their 50s and their 60s. I mean, I also coach people in their 20s and 30s, but it's always people, like, there's always the sense of, who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? What am I meant for? And I know those answers deep down buried in my soul, because I had to figure them out along this journey. So anxiety and depression and all mental health issues are an invitation to align with your authentic self. Because if you're in authenticity and you're not scared of trying to prove that you're something else, then there's nothing to be scared of, right? And so that was the second really, really, really beautiful gift that came from my mental health issues, quote unquote, as they call them. All right, let's talk the third benefit. So the third benefit of anxiety and depression, my battle with that, was physical health. And so again, nobody ever told me that my physical body had anything to do with depression. Unfortunately, now we live in times where that's much more common knowledge. But when I was growing up, it was a neck up way of treating mental health issues. It's just, let's talk about your feelings. Let's talk about your feelings. Let's talk about your feelings. And nobody ever told me that I might have a nutritional deficiency, or that I might be exercising in the wrong way, or that I might have a massive hormone imbalance. And in fact, I had all of those things going on. I was exercising in a very high interval intensity way. And what that was doing that was throwing off my hormones, kicking my hormones crazy. Therefore, I couldn't get my period, or when I got it, it was really painful. I mean, it was causing all kinds of issues. And all along, it was like, those were signs that not only did I stop feeling anxious when I stopped exercising that way, but I also I lost weight quicker. I felt stronger. I felt more powerful in my body when I started doing more slow strength exercises, right? So I now literally don't have to do any work to stay thin. It's the same thing with food, by the way. I learned what foods inflame my body, right? Because I learned how much inflammation causes not just inflammation in your gut, but in your brain, and causes anxious ways of thinking, right? I not just gained a physical health, like I didn't just learn what foods help with my anxiety. I learned what foods help my overall body, and they're the exact same thing. Right? So the foods that could help me with my anxiety and depression are the exact same foods that made me lose weight, that brought down I never get sick, literally never get sick, haven't been sick in years. And that's because the same foods, the same dietary regimes, the same exercise plans that heal your anxiety also make you the fittest, strongest version of yourself. And I became that. And so for years, I was trying to handle my anxiety over here. And on the other hand, over here, I was trying to lose weight, stay beautiful, stay sexy, look strong, whatever it is. And then I learned it's actually the exact same thing. When you learn what foods bring down the inflammation in your body, nourish your hormones, nourish your vitamin levels, and you will learn that those are the exact same foods that keep you thin and treat anxiety and mental health issues. So, oh my goodness, that was a massive benefit. This winter just passed. It felt like one of the longest winters in New York. Everyone was sick and I was just riding high, and I don't do anything special. I just attend to my mental health. So that's amazing, right? That's such a special and precious gift of anxiety and depression. All right, let's talk about the the fourth gift I believe I received, and that's courage. So when I say courage, what I really mean by that is that if you want to heal from anxiety, you have to learn how to face the things that make you feel afraid. And sometimes those are big, heavy things like traumatic events from your past, and sometimes they're lighter things that you don't know why they make you feel anxious, like driving in a car or going in a plane. It's just that way, right? So there's tons of different causes for anxiety and target subjects for anxiety. Whatever it is, it's the same. So for me, I had social anxiety, tremendous social anxiety. My family was a massive source of anxiety for me my whole life. And what I learned through this journey was how to approach those things that make me scared, right? And so I learned how to work with my energy to calm myself down in those situations. I learned how to rearrange the way I was thinking around those triggers, and rearranging my thoughts and rearranging my body's energy allowed me to slowly go and approach those fears and really change my relationship with them. So I can go to a party, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite place to be ever, but I don't get anxiety about it anymore. I can just walk in, feel cool, feel relaxed, not have expectations of myself or other people, let my body be calm, no needs for drugs or alcohol in those situations, right? So I gain the power to be anywhere I want to be, do anything I want to do without fear. And that was amazing. Amanda is saying that she really wants to learn in on this. Well, Amanda, tell me more specifically your question so I can help you think through this and sort through this. I'd love to be able to support you there. Thank you for your question, by the way. But what I was saying is, not only did I learn how to face the things that made me anxious, and I learned how to really work with my mind and body in that way, but then what that did was it built a crazy courage. Nothing is gonna get to me now. If those things that used to make me so anxious can't make me anxious anymore, nothing's gonna get to me anymore. And that's why I was able to become an entrepreneur, right? And I remember when I came home from India to New York, and I wanted to start this coaching practice, and I had been in India for 6 years. So I wanted to start this coaching practice, and everybody was like, the market is super saturated. Everybody does, you're not going to fit in. You don't even know people here anymore. You've been gone for such a long time. How are you going to launch your business? You don't have any savings. You were in India the whole time. What are you going to do? And I was like, come and freaking get me, world. I have faced these crazy sensations taking over my body when I've been anxious before. I've felt like I wasn't going to be able to survive. That was my life when I was anxious, and I've learned how to work through that. I got this. I can take a risk in the entrepreneurial world, right? And just generally speaking, I feel that way every day of my life. People are like, oh, are we going to be able to manage this? Are you going to be able to do this? What if it has this consequence? And I'm like, I got this. I can work with this, So I have this never-ending source of courage because I learned how to work with my thoughts and my body. So it was really, really, really beautiful. So Amanda, you said one more thing. You want to know more about the natural way to fight back. Well, the short thing I'll say about changing your energy in a circumstance and a thing that makes you anxious, I have a whole unit on this, which goes 3 weeks long in my course, Freedom from Anxiety. So definitely check that out if you want really, really in-depth support. But what I'll tell you right now is this, is that there's, your body gets hijacked because it has these patterns of relating to a certain environment. So it's not like your body is choosing it. It's not choosing to be anxious or registering an active threat. But what our bodies always do is they take shortcuts. And so they always teach us, so if you go to one place and you have a bad experience and you go there another time and have another bad experience, your body in order to stop having to do all the hard work of saying, is this a scary thing? Should I be afraid of this? Should I not be afraid of this? It just creates a habit, and it says, okay, we've decided this is a scary place. Therefore, we are hardwiring this anxious feeling of reactivity to this environment or this person or this place, right? Similarly, thought patterns around a place or a space get hardwired. And so in order for us to be able to undo the thoughts, we first have to work on our body. And so when you go in those places, don't try changing your mentality or thinking positive. Don't do any of that. Your body will be too hijacked. It won't be accessible to you, but work on your body. So the most basic things I can share with you on the live today would be around like taking those, like that deep belly breathing to really calm yourself, right, in that space. And if you do that again and again and again in a place that used to make you anxious or used to trigger your anxiety, what that will do is that will retrain a new habit within you, which says, oh, look, I feel safe in this environment and my body's calm in this environment, over and over and over and over and over. And then eventually that becomes your new muscle memory associated with that place. And then you can start working on the thoughts. And when you transform those two things, then you completely transform your relationship to that trigger. So I hope that was a little helpful in the middle of this, and I'm really excited to see that you're gonna try that out. Let me know how it goes, Amanda. I love hearing people's feedback. But so in the meantime, I wanted to get on to the fifth gift, and you know, some people will love this and some people will say, what the hell is this? But the fifth gift of anxiety and depression, or good thing that came out, was a sense of spirituality. And so, you know, I grew up as a millennial, and millennials are known for people who like have kind of said bye-bye to formal religion in many cases, right? And so, and yet we all believe, you know, where the famous phrase is like, I'm spiritual but not religious. I was never really anything. I was like, what kind of a cruel God would make me feel this way? What kind of a cruel God would bring on so much suffering in the world? All this kind of stuff. Not to mention, I just had a very religious family and didn't resonate with what that looked like for them. And so when I was so I always felt like alone in the world. Like I always felt like I'm by myself. I got to fight to survive. I got to fight to make this work. I got to do it all myself. I got to, you know, like it really felt alone. Like nobody had my back. Like I couldn't trust. I couldn't have faith. I couldn't relax and just like let life show up for me. Like, and that's a scary way to live, right? That in self, like, contributed to my anxiety, and to never have this sense that like there was a larger purpose or a larger meaning or a larger force behind my life. And because I went through anxiety and depression, and I was able to experience all these other gifts that came through it, right? Like incredible health, real love in my relationships, courage like I could only dream of having developed, right? Like authenticity, a clear knowing who I am, compassion with other people, connection. Because I got all of these gifts out of something that seemed so dark and so difficult, I started to believe, it was a crack in my heart that opened me to believe that there's something bigger about the world that's there to support me. And then and you know, not to mention, of course, I spent 6 years in India learning natural ways of healing, and the Buddha and many of the, you know, Hindu stories in Hindu mythology teach a lot of the most powerful practices that I know. And so those two things really cracked me open to believing that there's something divine about my struggle, and not that I would have necessarily chosen it, but that there was something divine about it, that there was meaning and purpose and value in it. And that fills my soul. That wakes me up every day. That energizes the hell out of me. And the more I look for it, the more I experience it, the more I fully open to that trusting and that spirituality, the more that it feels real for me. So yeah, I mean, those are 5 things that I wouldn't trade for the world. I couldn't imagine who I would be today without them. I wouldn't want to be anybody else. And so despite how difficult it seems at times that you're on this battle of anxiety and depression, remember this, like the goal here is not healing. The goal is not to get to some end state where you never have anxiety or depression again. It's kind of like, you know, the goal of writing a poem is not to get to the end of the poem, right? It's the beauty is in when you're trying to write the poem and you're coming up with the rhymes and you're erasing and going back to scratch, right? Like you are never more alive than when you're working on a goal. than when you're working towards something, than when you're trying to create progress. So turn towards your anxiety, your mental health issues with that. I am alive and I am ready to receive the gifts of this as I progress down this path. And everything will change for you in terms of the way you heal. So yeah, I really wanted to share that with you guys today. I hope that was helpful. Thank you, Amanda, for your question. Anyone else who has questions, even if it's on the replay, shoot me your comments. Check out Freedom from Anxiety. And I really can't wait to see you guys in the next live. All right, have a good one.
Yikes.